Now, let's talk about service. And this is one of the ones that's really going to get a lot of people kind of teed off. Now, so I got the service from Sprint. I get my service from Sprint. I pay a significant amount. Hey, I'm not the biggest, I don't make the big bucks. I'm just a regular Joe, and I pay a significant amount of money for my internet access, or should I say my phone, or my phone connectivity, or my phone internet or data access on my phone. Now, Sprint has gone ahead and decided in New York that it's going to release its 4G LTE network. Now, that's great. It means I'm probably going to get a faster connection. And when I buy a new device like this, I'm probably guaranteed, a fast connection on the device. That doesn't seem to be the case in Brooklyn, however. I'm in Brooklyn, not too far away from the Brooklyn Bridge, actually, and it doesn't seem as though any of that connectivity which they promised New York is actually over here in Brooklyn. Hey, called Sprint, I've been basically, let's go back a little bit. I've been having problems in the apartment with the Sprint, my Sprint connectivity, and I've used other devices in the apartment, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and they seem to work correctly or properly. Now, apparently changes are being made to the towers in my apartment, around my neighborhood, to make sure that we get upgraded to 4G. Now, as a consequence of this, my service now sucks. It sucks monumentally. It is one of the worst services I have ever had on from a cell phone carrier in not even recent memory, but just ever. Calling Sprint, I'm bounced from one person to the next to basically say, hey, guess what? Your service area, yes, we know there being upgrades and whatnot. Yeah, this is not the way they sounded, but yeah, we know there being upgrades and whatnot, but hey, there's really not much we can do. We're sorry. Maybe we could give you back some whatever. So we can give you back some money on the, okay, great. That's well and good. But the point is this: I am paying Sprint for a service which they do not deliver. I go ahead and I ask Sprint for a airwave, and Sprint tells me, because my service area is not a bad service area, that I don't qualify for an airwave. So, point number one, I get crappy service. Point number two, apparently the area isn't crappy, just my particular service. Point number three, I can't get an airwave because my area in general doesn't suck. Just my personal service, which I pay Sprint to provide to me. Now, it gets better. Point number four, let's give you a little walkthrough on exactly what happens. I call Sprint, get bounced around maybe 4 or 5 different people, finally get to a manager, a quote unquote manager, who tells me that basically if I want an airwave, I would have to pay for it. Wow, so now let's break this down. Sprint, you're asking me to pay you extra for a service which I'm not receiving from you. So, take it a little back. I pay Sprint to provide to me cell phone service as well as data service. Sprint isn't currently providing me consistent service. Now, Sprint says in order for me to get the service which I am already paying for, I need to pay extra to get a device that would now provide me with that service. I believe this is what we call a scam. That is straight on Scam School 101. And if you don't know what Scam School is, Google it. Now, I speak to the manager, who basically says, hey, let me see what I can do for you. I should basically preface all this by saying no Sprint representative who I spoke to was actually rude in any way. They gave me help to the best of their ability, and that says a lot about the institution, which is Sprint. When 4 different service representatives cannot provide a consumer adequate service, not because they're not trying, but because Sprint limits. Yes, Sprint limits the amount of help they can actually provide you on any given day, because a service technician cannot actually change, or should I say provide you with a Wi-Fi or an airwave they actually have to go ahead and get one of the consumer reps or whoever to now talk to you and give you or decide if you qualify for an air rate. And if you don't qualify for an air rate, they now have to push you to the manager to basically say, hey manager, can you, do an exception for this guy so he can get an air rate, because he's really not getting any service. So the manager goes ahead and he checks the service and whatever, and it appears he now has to go to someone higher up than him. Bureaucracy at its freaking worst. Sprint, hey, you have my data connectivity freaking information. You know that I'm dropping calls in a given destination, in a given GPS location. You know that I spend a certain amount of time based on the fact that you have my GPS location, or you know the towers I'm pinging. You know how much time I'm spending in that particular location. So you can extrapolate that that most likely is home. If I am getting a significant amount of dropped calls at home, however, you're telling me that you cannot provide me service in my apartment without me actually paying extra to get service, which I am paying a significant amount for. You f***ed up. Simply put, Sprint has a lack of proper leadership. That's where I think the problem actually comes from. Well, and this is why I see it, this is the way I see the problem. Sprint has made some very obvious bad steps when it comes to 4G connectivity, or when it comes to next generation connectivity. They've had the option of Clearwire, they've had the option of using white space, they've had the option of using WiMAX. Whatever option they have invested significant amounts of their technology dollars in has actually been a failure. So if you cannot make, at a high level, if you cannot make good decisions for your company, Mr. Daniel Hess, Mr. CEO of Sprint, please explain to me how you aim to improve the service which I get if you yourself cannot make great decisions about the longevity of your company. Now, being CEO isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'm sure there's a lot of hard, tough decisions to make. However, if I had to make a decision for any one of the clients I worked with and 3 out of 4 of my decisions were wrong, I'm pretty sure they'll be shopping around for probably a new person to work for them. Because guess what? 3 out of 4 is, or should I say 1 out of 4, or passing grade of 1 out of 4 doesn't happen. That's actually a failing grade. So 3 out of 4 being wrong, that says you need to look up a whole new line of work, because guess what? You're failing the consumers or the customers of Sprint. Sprint has always been what we call one of the, I would say, a bargain option or a budget option for a lot of people out there who want great service, or should I say okay service, at a decent price. Yes, we put up with mediocre service, and I'm not gonna lie about that. It has always been mediocre service. Sprint isn't number 1 or 2 when it comes to service providers for your data, for data or information. They are not. However, we pay our hard-earned dollars to Sprint because they provide this service to us at a bargain. However, if you're paying and getting 0, that no longer becomes a bargain. It is not a bargain when I continue to pay Sprint for service which I do not get. It makes no sense. At that point, you become the most expensive, yes, you heard me right, the most expensive carrier out there, because guess what? For the dollars I give you, I get nothing of value. So please explain to me, Sprint, why I should continue to buy high-end devices and use it on your network. I have the option of taking this device, yes, this device, the Galaxy S4, which currently now comes with a SIM card in it, unlike the Galaxy S3 from Sprint, I should mention. So I have the option of basically swapping out that SIM card and going elsewhere. Sprint, comment box. Convince me to stay with you. This has been Sam for Booredatwork.com, and I'm a little bit pissed off for Sprint, as you can tell. Enjoy your entertainment.